I had been out placing lines all night, and I was driving home, and I had an investment pitch to do at 9 a.m. I got pulled over by the police for swerving. They thought I was drunk. So I ended up spending the rest of the night handcuffed in the back of a police car, begging the police officer to let me go because I had to do a pitch in the morning.
Welcome to The Flop, the place where we dive into business failures and have some fun while doing so. Be sure to follow us on all your podcast mediums, whether that be Spotify, Amazon Music. And if you're watching us through YouTube, be sure to subscribe. I'm your host, Wes Rissell, and with me, I have my two co-hosts and good buds, Tyler Cope and Josh Bowman. Boys, how are we doing today?
Oh, yeah. It's a good day.
Killing it.
Love it. I love it. All right. Well, we have an awesome show lined up for you today. We'll be talking with an entrepreneur about the successes and struggles about building a company called Vascular Wellness. Yes, Peter, I did my homework. That helps improve vascular access to patients at the bedside. And he had a successful exit. Peter is a really good friend of mine and Tyler's and Josh now too. I've met a couple times. And he always beats me at disc golf, but I still love him anyway. And without further ado, welcome Peter to the
Thank
Flop.
you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm not sure if I should be honored yet because it's about failures, but you know what? I'll take it. It's the little wins.
We're happy to have you.
Absolutely.
It's really cool to have someone who, has gone through all the struggles, right? And experienced them. So I know we have a lot to unpack here. But before we do all that, let's go into our favorite segment, which is fails of the week. Boys, how'd we fail this week?
Spectacularly.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
with
first.
Confidence.
I failed with confidence. I'm going to jump right in there. I had only a single key to my vehicle for the last 5 years, and never really occurred to me to get a second key. I'm not really sure why I didn't, but turns out we recorded our podcast last week, and went to go check the mail and went ahead and lost my only key set. So I was Ubering around for an entire day, and I thought, you could just go ahead and make a key for a few bucks. Turns out to make a single key for my crappy car cost $275. I didn't just lose my car key. I lost my key to my bike. I lost the key to my apartment. I pretty much lost everything in my life. Redemption story, though, I found it.
Where? I have to ask where Tyler?
So I thought I was wearing a certain pair of jeans, and so I searched those jeans. My apartment isn't very big. What you guys see in the screen is what there is here. I went through all of my clothes, and it just so happens I was wearing a different pair of jeans that I was being proactive and folded them and put them deep in my dresser. And only after hours, in fact, it was the next day, I then found that set of keys and screamed for joy. So there was a redeeming arc to the story. But yeah, for a while I was Ubering around and just accepting the loss of hundreds of dollars.
I hate losing stuff, and yes, I do it all the time. So I feel that. My fail is inspired by yours. I got to bring it up. This really was a bummer. So this last year, my PTO starts over in like 5 days. I forgot to actually plan my vacation throughout the year. So I just have all my vacation left at the end of the year, which sounds fine. But the last 3 weeks has really, really sucked because I was like, I'll just take every Friday off. I'll take some Mondays off. It'll be awesome. But that just means that my Wednesday and Thursdays, like my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are 30-minute block back-to-back meetings. So I've just been working 12-hour days for the past 2 weeks, right in the middle, super intensely. Starting in 5 days, I'm planning 3 vacations proactively for the middle of summer when it's really nice out and normal people take off. I'm excited for it.
You just have 3 sprint days of torture and pain and anxiety is what it sounds like.
This
Oh, yeah.
sounds like a humble brag where Josh is like, I actually work so hard I don't take vacation, and they told me I had to take vacation, so now I took vacation, but I still work so hard that I still work 100 hours a week.
I'm so needed. I'm so needed that I need to have so many meetings, because if they don't happen, then the job doesn't get done. My name's Josh Bowman.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you over all my other humble brags that I'll get into as we go.
But Josh, you can make up for it if you do vacations with me and Wes. Then it's all forgiven.
I'm really good at vacations, so if
Clearly not, because you don't take them enough.
Yeah, I don't know. Your track record and what you're saying aren't matching here.
damn.
But Peter, you want to go? I can go.
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. So we rebooted Outlook, and this week is the week where our mid-year evaluations are taking place. And I had a lot of meetings with my boss and the people that are evaluating me. It reset all of my reminders and deleted them. So for every single one of the meetings with the people who are evaluating me, they had to reach out to me or come to my desk and say, are you going to join us, or what are you going to do? So I was literally late, sometimes by hours.
Oh, no.
Nothing says my job is important to me more than just not showing up for the evaluations.
And then they compare notes, and all of them are like, "Yeah, he was late to mine too."
Yeah, right.
Oh.
He really cares.
Strengths, punctuality.
Exceeds expectations. So my fail is, for those who don't know, I'm a recent father, and
Congratulations.
Fail.
thank you, Peter. Yeah, there, and that's it. No, I joke, I kid. My daughter's 19 days old, and at this point, you're just kind of trying to figure out what's wrong with them when they're screaming at you. And I suck at that. I'm finding, like, I'll try the same thing 3 times before it's the very evident other thing I didn't try. So that's been my continuous failure this week, is not knowing how to properly take care of an infant.
Is it kind of like searching the same pair of jeans 3 times in a row, only to find out it's the other pair of jeans?
I think there are some similarities there for sure. All right, well, let's hop into the interview here. So, Peter, really excited to learn about the failures you had with starting this company and selling this company eventually. But would you mind giving the people listening a little bit more information about the company, just so they kind of know what it's all about and what y'all worked on?
So Carolina Vascular Wellness, and it wasn't Vascular Wellness, and it was Carolina Vascular Wellness, because one of my partners had read somewhere that a business with a K sound is actually more successful than one without. So as bougie as it sounds, that's where Carolina came in.
That's crazy.
Great.
So Carolina Vascular Wellness started as an on-demand, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week vascular access solution to help hospitals facilitate discharge bottlenecks. And we did that by expediting the insertion of PICC lines and other types of vascular access for long-term home care infusions. Because we were a medical service company, we began as a professional LLC, which limited our ability to attract non-medical investors. So after about 18 months, we decided to form an additional C corporation to own and manage the contracts and equipment, with an in perpetuity contract with the PLLC, the service company. So we created a management company to run and own the service company. One
thing you did was this, other than having Carolina Vascular Wellness with the K sound,
Yes.
you also started as an LLC and had to kind of advance that, right? Like you had to change it up, probably so you can get outside investors.
That's exactly right. So it was a PLLC, professional liability, limited liability company, and that limited investors to medical personnel only. So we created a C corporation designed to minimize liability and to allow non-medical people to invest or purchase the C corporation. And we started literally with nothing. We had a laptop, a TV tray, or a coffee shop, and that was where the whole concept came in.
Nice. So you kind of started pretty minimally, right? Almost like bootstrapped it, but you still had the foresight to kind of look ahead and be like, let's set this up so we can get all these things that we need, because we want it to be more of a widespread brand or, solution.
Right. And we actually attended the Center for Entrepreneurial Development, which is intended to help startup companies. What we realized, they're actually for companies that are software companies, more like that, and not companies that are service companies. So it kind of made us take a turn in the wrong direction. So we actually started our company the same way a widget company would and not a service company would. Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say that probably had some downhill effects there.
It sure did. It did. Absolutely. The way we started looking at money in the beginning was, we're going to be huge. We can do this. We can grow. It's all about the revenue coming in, which is not what you want with a service company.
And, software company, you want that classic like hockey stick curve. Like, doesn't matter. Just show the revenue growing like month over month, year over year. Where the service company, you could do that, but then you have the people. You still have to have the people to provide that care.
Can I ask a really silly question?
Of course, Josh.
Okay, so you said a lot of medical things, and I don't know. You might as well just. I don't know anything you said at the highest level for non-medical people. What
Sure.
did your company do?
So we used high-level technology to place central lines, which is a line that goes into your vein and actually into your vein in your arm, and the catheter feeds all the way to an area just above your heart.
What would a standard user or patient look like for Carolina Vascular? Like, how do I find myself needing your lines?
So you're in the hospital. You have methicillin-resistant bacteria, some kind of strep or staph infection. Antibiotics orally are not going to get rid of it. And the hospital, your insurance is willing to pay for 3 days of hospitalization. So they're going to try to put a central line in and get you home and have those infusions done at home. But the typical patient when we started was one that was supposed to go home, get an infusion for some sort of staph infection. And we provided the resource to do that with zero infection rate, which is insane, from insertions, and putting it in when other people couldn't. They'd call us at 11 o'clock at night freaking out because they couldn't get a line in a patient. We'd show up. So if you were there at 11 o'clock at night waiting to go home or you were just sick, we would show up, put this line in, you'd get your antibiotics and start the process of getting better.
So you're almost like a locksmith, but for veins.
That's exactly right.
So for the audience listening, is a line the same as an IV? I think most people are aware of what an IV is. Tell us the difference between an IV versus a line. Is there similarities? Is there differences?
Sure. So an IV goes in the smaller veins in the forearm, sometimes in the upper arm. They're intended to last 3 days. And you don't want to give, there are drugs called vesicant drugs, again, like vancomycin, which is an antibiotic, a really strong one. If you infuse that into the veins of the small arm for too long, it'll literally destroy that vein. So down the road, when you need another IV, guess what? You can't use that vein anymore. And so we would put these veins in the upper arm by the bicep. In these larger veins, we'd insert a catheter. It's essentially a super long IV that's a flexible catheter, and insert it up through the clavicle around that, and it dropped down into a very large vein that feeds directly into the heart called the superior vena cava.
Sounds like it would take a pretty skilled hand to be able to do that.
It does. It does. Interestingly, younger people that we hired were very good at it because they played video games. So essentially a vein under ultrasound looks like a black hole, and all the tissue around it looks kind of gray and diffuse. And the needle shows up as kind of this bright, flashy thing, and you actually try to feed the bright, flashy thing into the dark hole.
Bit of an announcement to everyone listening. Keep playing your video games. You might
That's
be able to land a good job, you know?
For you parents out there that are telling your kids, don't, it's useless, you're wasting your time. It's a good, valuable resource.
Josh, if you get overwhelmed by your work because you're not taking vacation, by the way, to the audience, Josh is an extremely avid video gamer. There's another career in store for you.
I'm playing a video game right now. Yeah.
Let's hop into the failures a little bit more. Peter, tell me a little bit more about how you might have failed during this business adventure here.
Ultimately, the loss of control by trying to be both the employee and an executive managing it was too great. Every time I was supposed to focus on the executive function, I got pulled into the employment function.
Mm.
And at a certain point, that caused me to lose. I compensated by putting the financial oversight onto somebody other than myself.
Mhm.
And as a CEO, you never ever want to give up the financial oversight.
So it sounds like you're kind of getting pulled back into that technician role,
Exactly.
which is tough as a CEO because, your mind has to be so forward thinking that,
Yeah.
you can't, being on the front lines maybe has its place, but that definitely can't be the majority of your time.
Right. And early on, especially when we were 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I was going out and doing lines at 3 a.m, coming in and pitching to investors at 10 a.m.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, this is how bad it got. I had been out placing lines all night, and I was driving home, and I had an investment pitch to do at 9 a.m. I got pulled over by the police for swerving. They thought I was drunk. So I ended up spending the rest of the night handcuffed in the back of a police car, begging the police officer, begging the police officer to let me go because I had to do a pitch in the morning. And finally, they realized I had not been drinking. I was just tired, and they let me go. And by that time, it was like 7:30 in the morning. So I called my wife. I'm like, honey, please come pick me up. I'm downtown in Raleigh at the police department. I've been handcuffed to a police car all night long. And she's like, yeah, right. You can find your own way home.
Oh my gosh.
So
I
had to call my chief operating officer, who was kind enough to come get me. And wearing the clothes I'd been wearing, the scrubs, sweaty and everything else, I went and did that pitch at 9 a.m.
So you went in with the scrubs, with the, the potentially bodily fluids on you,
Yes.
just crushing in a pitch.
Trying to crush in a pitch. I was exhausted, but yeah, we did it. We actually pulled it off. I showed up. My chief financial officer looked at me like, wow, rough night, huh? Yeah. So that's how bad it got. My whole point is that in getting pulled back and forth, I stopped focusing on eating right, sleeping, exercising. And one of the things I learned a little too late was that running and managing a business, especially one that's growing or a service business, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to take care of the company.
Yeah.
You're going to lose that. And that's the edge that I lost. Every time there was a little fire, I felt like I had to put it out instead of delegating.
So it sounds like one of the lessons learned was, especially as a CEO and founders, how do you delegate and and how do you kind of relinquish a little bit of control, even if it's not the outcome that's the best in that very moment.
Mm-hmm. And how do you stop focusing on, instead of focusing on manageable growth, I just wanted to get as many clients as we could without thinking about what it would take to actually service those clients over a period of time. So in the short term, we could do it, but ultimately, we had to develop a hiring process, a training process, and everything else that didn't exist. So I would caution anybody who's starting a service company, find a way to delegate and to have people who can do the training and the service so you can focus on the big picture.
But I think there's something to be said. The fact that you still landed that deal all bloodied up in your scrubs. Very memorable pitch, I bet. I bet they didn't forget that one. They're probably still talking about it. Like, remember that guy that we invested in, showed up with bloody scrubs and we gave him money?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And another thing about keeping track of the money and not delegating it, we had an angel investor who right out of the gate I just connected with, and he said, hey, Peter, I'd be happy to write you a check. Just meet me at this McDonald's at such and such a time in the morning, and I'll write you a check to help your company. I go there and I bring I bring my partner with me who's in charge of the money, and we're sitting down right without any contract or anything. This wonderful, super kind angel investor says, how does $150,000 start with? Is that going to help? My chief operating officer and I are looking at each other like, yeah, that's going to help. It's going to buy
Yeah,
ultrasounds.
big
It's
time.
going to do a lot of things. And this other person says, actually, we were looking for $1 million. Now we're a brand new company. And I'm thinking, what? And right before my eyes, this wonderful angel investor closes his checkbook and says, that's more than I think I want to give right now. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to take off and I'll talk to you guys later. So in a matter of minutes, I watched $150,000 of very much needed money walk right out of a door because I didn't trust myself to just manage the deal, even though the deal was because of me.
The cojones on that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Well, he's a physician. He's a physician. So his financial need was different than our financial need. My partner and I had literally used all of our savings and everything else to start this. So that money was invaluable to us. And he was not in the same boat that we were in.
Mm.
I see.
Yeah.
This is a great story. Peter, what I think I want to learn more about, though, is so it sounds like you lost control a little bit of some of the direction of the company, having a hard time between delegating tasks versus managing. But where did it really start to go south? And how did you, or did it sounds like you had a successful exit. So can you tell us how you went from being the CEO to then having an exit with investors?
Yeah. So, and successful is defined in a couple of different ways. So I certainly didn't make millions off of the exit or anything like that. In fact, none of our partners did. And we exited with a marginal amount of money, but the company is still thriving. It's growing. The new owners are doing a great job with it, and they're the right types of owners. One thing I also learned is that there are two types of CEOs. One type is the visionary CEO, who is literally willing to throw the bus at anything and see what sticks. And the other type is a managerial CEO. And I think every company at some point needs that visionary person to kind of jumpstart it, even established companies. But at some point, it has to also have that balance with another CEO who is more the managerial type, the bottom line guy.
Different phases, I guess, in the company, right?
Different phases in the company.
But, at the same time, Apple, I mean, they just add a new camera to the dang iPhone every year and call it this new thing and put some fancy music, and U2 starts playing. Shout out to U2. And then they sell millions, billions, and they have success that way. My question to everyone here is, do you guys think that's like a viable long-term strategy, though? Like, eventually, you're going to need to change the game, right? Like, you're going to need to do something different.
Do you guys, so like visionary CEOs, right? I think that's really exciting, right? So me and Tyler are big idea guys. Okay. What separates the big idea guys from the visionary CEOs?
Wait a minute. Why is it just you and Tyler?
Oh, sorry, Wes. You're a performer, man. You're always doing stuff. Thus, this podcast, for example. But me and Tyler, we always got big ideas.
Yeah, I won't take it personally. Yes.
I kind of take it personally. Being an idea guy is kind of an insult in the founder community. I'm not going to be associated with that, Josh. That's just you. Speak for yourself.
I'm a big idea guy. How about that?
So big idea guys are great, but if you don't have somebody who can execute the ideas, you're just a person with a dream. So I would say for anybody who's a visionary, make sure you surround yourself with people who are very practical and who can execute it.
Let's get personal. What did you identify as your weaknesses, Peter?
So my weakness was executing, because I could execute ideas very well. So when a decision had to be made, my strength was an ability to kind of see around the corner and see what was coming next, which is great, visionary. But to sit down at a desk and put everything on paper, painful, just painful. Thank God I found the right people to partner with. One of my business partners, our chief operating officer, was brilliant at executing, fearless. All she needed was a direction and she could run with it. And if it weren't for her, there wouldn't have been a company. I mean, just to put it mildly. I led the direction, but she made sure that everything was in place. All the legal things were in place. the fact that it actually became a viable, legitimate company, both of them, were in large part due to her.
Big yin to your yang there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need that. You need to find that. You need to find the yin and the yang. So a bunch of idea people, great. You might as well just sit around a campfire and go, hey, I've got an idea. Right. But you add somebody who can execute to that picture, and it turns into something totally different.
Josh is a big idea guy, huge idea guy.
Yeah.
Likes campfires too.
Well, he doesn't take vacations.
That's right.
He's always thinking. He's always thinking.
One last question. Peter, did you have any background in healthcare, or did you come in as a relative outsider into health tech and health service industry?
So I have a massive background in healthcare. I've been a nurse, for example, for 35 years. What I didn't have a background in was business at all. Back in a past life, a long time ago, when I was just out of the Marine Corps, I was an accountant, and I was in accounting. Didn't last very long, and that was about as close as I came to money in my entire life. And after that, I took the medical route. So comfortable with the medical world, a total novice in the business world. I read every book I could get my hands on Jack Welch, on different types of CEOs, different companies, the ups and downs, how they handled things, how they handled crises, and how they worked through them. Then I also ended up watching a fantastic TV series, which I think was on HBO or Apple. It's called Silicon Valley.
Great show.
Classic.
If you, for anybody that's thinking about being an entrepreneur out there and building something big, I encourage you, watch Silicon Valley, because it is a step-by-step picture of what growth looks like. It's a little exaggerated. It's hilarious, but every step they go through is literally the step that we went through, and it was perfect. Also, if I can just suggest some reading for anybody that's interested in starting something.
Yeah, what books do you recommend, Peter?
So The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. Swim with the Sharks by Harvey McCabe. For inspiration when you feel like giving up, I recommend Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Great
Classic.
Now, I will say I wasn't trained in business, but I went back to school and I got my political science degree. And
Poli-sci. Hot take.
And that kind of grassroots mentality that you learn in poli-sci was wonderful for starting a business. For example, when we started marketing, we used images of not hospitals or PICC lines or anything else. We had images of people riding horses, of bald people from chemotherapy in a kayaking. And at the time, one of my partner, who was a physician, was like, what the heck? What are you doing? I said, it's about bringing people back to the place they were, back to health, restoring them. That's the image I want. And 3 years later, his medical office, guess what it had?
Kayaks.
It had pictures of people.
Mountains.
Yes.
Inspiration.
Ocean waves, the whole thing.
Well, let's have a little fun here. Let's do a business idea here.
Sure.
What's your better mousetrap right now?
I have two.
Oh,
I have two.
Oh, okay.
So the better mousetrap, vending machines. But I wouldn't put vending machines anywhere. I would put vending machines in the marijuana dispensaries where marijuana sales are legal. And I would just load them with Twinkies and everything else so people could go in, buy the marijuana, and one-stop shopping.
Brilliant.
Peter's Happy Snack Cafe.
Yeah,
there it is.
Exactly. There it is. You walk out and they know, the people that, that buy that know what's going to happen later. So they might as well just throw some money into a vending machine, grab a few Twinkies and a soda, and head on out. And I think you'd have a hard time keeping those vending machines stocked after a while.
You guys know Towley from South Park? I'm imagining like a happy, red, bleary-eyed actual Twinkie, but the Twinkie is holding a Twinkie and a joint and smiling. He's like, yeah.
Well, if anybody's got skills that can recreate that image, send us it over. We'll feature it in the next one.
On the other hand, an idea that I had, and I actually had some people approach me willing to invest, was a wireless dog collar. So
interesting.
Not a shock collar, but actually a dog collar, dog leash that was wireless. I actually did my research, and it is entirely possible to have a remote controlled leash that actually restrains, tightens, does all of the things. And all you would have to do is or put some mechanisms in there along with some dog training so that the dog was trained to respond to whatever was going on. No different than if they were on a real leash.
So a more ethical shock collar is what you're saying.
No, actually not a shock collar.
Pay attention, Tyler.
So, for example, using your wrist, you can, those little remote control cars that they have, and you can, or airplanes that you can pivot and everything else, doing that or pulling back and having that harness react. So the dog is actually getting physical cues on what to do.
Boys, you got any business ideas you're trying to share, change the world?
I mean, nothing better than those two. Peter, I do remember when we were playing disc golf. What's your thoughts as a nurse? What's your thoughts on doing an IV bar? Or an IV food truck? The first podcast, I also brought up food trucks, but to have a bakery that has,
trucks.
I'm all about food trucks. So I'm stuck on food
lunch
trucks.
Boxes, food trucks.
I can't get away from the food trucks. But people that go to music festivals, they're dehydrated, they're hungover, they have excess money, they want to feel better, right? You want to get back to that same vibe that you had the day before. Mm-hmm. So as a nurse that knows all about lines, how can we make some money with IVs?
So they have that. They actually have, they're not everywhere. The complexity of that is you have to have some provider that can prescribe whatever they're looking for. You just have to make sure that the patient's comfortable, has a place to sit, has an IV pole so they can't just be walking around with this thing. Although, if you want to take it one step further, there are compression balls that people use for self-infusions. So you could conceivably load the compression ball up with something and then hook it to an IV, and the patient could walk around with that attached to his arm and come back a half hour later and get the infusion, because it doesn't require gravity. It's the ball tightening and actually squeezing the medication into them.
I'm imagining just a bunch of millennials walking around with these squeeze balls. There's like hundreds. Everyone's pumping.
All I can imagine is, the EDM festivals, you go and there's always those nerds with the long hair and they've got those 3 balls, the ones that are glow in the dark, and they're spinning them everywhere. And they've got IVs.
I'm just thinking how to brand that ball on the arm, like maybe like a Pac-Man. Maybe you paint it love looks like that. Target. I don't know. I think there's a lot of possibilities. This got legs.
Here's what I'm seeing, Wes. You want to paint something on something. I'm kind of getting that.
All about painting things. Paint's cheap.
Right.
Entices people to do things. It's great. It's awesome.
So I don't know. Those are my things. Tyler? What do you think? What do you have stewing in your brain?
You mean about the IV company? I think it's got amazing legs.
Sorry,
that's
aside.
all the ideas I have. I'm out now. That's where my brain stops.
Okay.
It's big idea time. Okay.
Yeah, I'm an idea guy. I don't execute. I just have ideas.
Okay.
That's it.
You know what? I want to see something, and I don't know what exactly yet, but I want to see something in, we can like monitor our brains to see when they kind of light up, little dopamine tickles, like when your brain lights up. I would love to monitor your brain lighting up, go into an experience, and I'm imagining VR, right? But hit you with like hundreds of things, like different things that you maybe have never tried before, or you might be interested in. Going to have you experience a ton, and then somehow kind of use that, run it through, the AIs, right? And kind of give you a scorecard and be like, hey, here's some things you should try. You'll probably love these things. I don't know. It could be, I feel like there's got to be something where we can see what our brains do when we love things, and we can experience anything. So why can't I go and get the weirdness, all the things, and then be like, I should try that new thing I would never have tried in my lifetime, or that new place. I don't know. There's something there.
It sounds like you're trying to be a gateway drug into whatever they're into. Call it the gateway.
The
Gateway. That's good.
See, idea guy. I'm telling you, making my case.
But to be fair, Josh, isn't this kind of like what YouTube and Facebook and all the algorithms do? They are monitoring what you like and don't like, how often your eyeballs are on something as a proxy for what's lighting up your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's suggesting more things that are similar to that kind of content, or maybe something a little bit adjacent to that.
I think it's the opposite. I actually disagree.
Oh no. All right, here we go.
You're wrong, but go ahead, please explain.
I think that social media tries to see what we do like in the moment, and then it's like, this is what you get, and it just narrows us on it makes us smaller minded constantly. It's like, oh, you liked pickleball one time, or you clicked on this one similar thing about politics. It's like pickleball politics. That's all you get. And I feel like, what if there's a thing way over there, like on the other side of the spectrum of everything, right? That's totally not like you typically, and you will never experience it because it's very unlikely you'll ever algorithmically get there.
I get it. No, I hear you. It's what you're saying is you're tired of just being fed the same stuff that you're already watching on there, and you want an experience to do something else.
Well, Peter, let's wrap things up here a little bit for the interview. My last couple questions for you. Biggest one is, if you were to give just one piece of advice to someone who is maybe trying to start a company, early stages, what would it be, just from your past experiences?
Short and succinct. Pay attention. Do your homework and pay attention. And when the crap comes home, don't forget to laugh. The problems don't go away; they just get bigger. So when we first started, a client that was a $10,000 a year client, maybe thinking of quitting, was horrible. Couldn't even conceive of it. By the time I stopped, that wouldn't even have been a blink. It just wouldn't even hit my radar. So the problems never go away, and you have just got to learn how to roll with it and laugh. But pay attention. Pay attention to yourself, to your family, to your life, to your company, to your business, to your partners. Just pay attention.
Yeah, so pay attention, and the problems are probably only going to get bigger the more successful you are. So just got to learn how to deal with those when they come up, I guess.
Exactly.
And what I was thinking we'd do next is to hop into our favorite segment called Find the Flop. And in this segment, what we do is we'll give 3 things, and you have to tell me which one failed, which one fell on its face. It's different themes each week. This week's themes are movies. Financial flops here. Not just viewership, but financial flops. Everyone gets one question they can ask. And yeah, I'll try my best to answer it. So you guys ready for Find the Flop, the movie edition?
I'm going to find it.
You're going to find it? You're going to find it? Okay.
Find it.
Talk your stuff. Talk your stuff, Bowman. Now, it's a shortened edition. We only have 2 questions this time. But here are the 3 movies. Find the Flop. First one, John Carter, released in 2012.
Terrible.
The second, Wolf Warrior 2. Unsure on release date, I can look that up. And the third, Ghostbusters, but the 2016 version with like Amy Schumer in it, I think is in there. I don't remember. Those are your 3. Find the Flop.
I've never heard of the second movie. I've seen the part of the first before I had to turn it off, and I've heard of the third one.
Wes, I'd like to ask a question about one of the movies.
Go right ahead.
Tell me a little bit more about the Ghostbusters, Amy Schumer shenanigans. What was going on with that one?
Okay. So Ghostbusters, the 2016 version, is a story that focuses on 4 eccentric women who start a ghost catching business in New York City after a paranormal encounter. It's starring Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McCrimmon, Leslie Jones. There's more names, but that's all I'm giving you. So I guess, who did I say? They're not in there.
Amy Schumer's not in there.
And just to commit, Amy Schumer's not in there.
No, on behalf of your points, since we swapped roles for this episode, I'm locking in without any additional questions. There is no way Amy Schumer's Ghostbusters did anything but toilet flop. Sorry. She's a comedian. She's a great average comedian. But that's about it.
But just to confirm, Amy Schumer is not in this movie.
Oh, I'm still locking it in. No
all
way.
right, you're still for Ghostbusters. Got it.
No
All right.
way.
Perfect. All right, so Bowman's got Ghostbusters. Peter, what was your question?
Who starred in Wolf Warrior 2?
So The Wolf Warrior 2 is a 2017 Chinese action film co-written and co-produced and directed by Wu Jing, who also starred in the lead role.
Wes, how much did John Carter cost to make?
That is an excellent question. John Carter cost $307 million to make.
You know my vote. Lock it in. John Carter, an awful film, absolute flop. And if it's anything different than that, I'm questioning your ability to fact check everything. So it is absolutely John Carter. That's my vote.
All right, so Tyler's locking in John Carter, the 2012 big budget film.
I'm going with John Carter too. Only because Wolf Warrior 2 in China probably just crushed it.
They did it. Or had no budget, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Great answers, everyone. So Peter, locking in John Carter. Tyler, also locking in John Carter. And Josh, Ghostbusters, because Amy Schumer didn't make anything good.
Even though she wasn't in it.
Even though she wasn't in it.
That's right.
The answer is John Carter.
There we go.
Unfortunately,
Easy.
Tyler.
300 million. High five.
Unfortunately, Tyler is correct.
Terrible film.
With a budget of $307 million, John Carter only brought in $284 million in the box office.
Wow.
Losing, what is that? 23 million. Wolf Warrior 2 had a budget of $30 million. And in the box office in China, hit $870 million.
Wow.
Skyrockets in flight, afternoon delight.
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters 2016 had a budget of $144 million and pulled in $229. So did quite well, despite Bowman thinking it did. All right, for this next round, it's going to be a rapid fire round. So no questions, just give me your answer here. First movie, The Intouchables. Second movie, Ali. And the third movie, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. Not the original, but the one with the rock in it. Which one?
Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. Locking it in.
What was the first one?
The first one was The Intouchables.
Intouchables.
Yeah. Peter's got the juice. I'm doubling down. Intouchables.
Unfortunately, everyone is wrong.
What?
Ali was the biggest flop with a budget of $105 million, only pulled in 87. And I believe it won an Academy Award.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
It was
A great movie. But I guess you got to mark it right. Right.
Wow.
The Intouchables had a budget of $10 million and brought in $426 million. Did really well. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle had a budget of only $90 million and brought in close to $1 billion, $999 million.
Dang. Do you smell what the rock is cooking?
They did, and people wanted it. All right, for our next section, we're going to go into quick hitter questions. Tyler, go ahead, take us away.
All right, Peter. 5 quick questions, and we want to know what's up. So, number 1, what is your morning routine?
Wake up, brush my teeth in the shower. Wake up right away, brush my teeth in the shower, and shave my ears.
What?
Every morning they grow back like whiskers.
Is a hot dog in a bun a sandwich?
No.
Correct answer. If somebody could play you in an upcoming Netflix special about in Carolina Vascular, the story retold, who would star as Peter Mohr?
Oh gosh, I have the image of the guy. He was in Hunger Games. The bald guy. What's his name?
Ooh.
Yeah, the guy that was the MC, the host.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was like Caesar or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
That's fantastic.
Yes. I think we all know who I'm talking about. I just can't put a name to the...
All right, number 4. What's the most unexpected skill you've acquired while working in the startup world?
Patience.
Okay. Last question. Peter, what are you proud of but have never had an excuse to talk about?
My love for animals.
Good answer.
Love it.
Getting the crowd points. Well done, Peter.
I also love dogs. Josh Bowman loves dogs and cats.
There we go. And cats. And cats. Okay.
And has empathy.
There you go.
Well, hey, that does it for another episode of The Flop. For everyone listening, be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment of your favorite animal, so that way Josh can pick that next time he talks about how much he loves animals. Peter, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Absolutely.
Loved hanging out with you. Loved chatting with you.
You guys are a blast. Thank you. You're awesome.
We'll have to have you on again sometime.
I'd love it.
And yeah, this is The Flop. Talk to everyone soon.